Started doing the election live streaming for the Talbot County election canvass. I had never heard of the word canvass used to describe the counting and processing of ballots. I thought of it as the canvasback duck or canvas as in a sailboat. And so I didn't know what I was getting into, but I have the equipment, I have the professional expertise, and I had the time to do it. So I hopped on board to help them run the technology aspect of the live stream. And part of their due diligence is to prove that there is no fraud happening in the election. And so since COVID-19 has made everything insane, they needed a way to show the public what was happening in the room without breaking the 10-person minimum maximum or without breaking any of these social distancing guidelines. So I set up in the corner with a wide-angle lens and made sure the live stream didn't crash and made sure the audio was on when it was supposed to be on and off when it was supposed to be off, and then I would move the camera a little bit depending on what was happening in the room, if they were at the ballot machines or if they were at the machine or if they were reading something out or if the board was in review. I got to see the entire process from when you drop a ballot off at the Board of Elections drop box, at the elections office, to it being counted and going off to the State Board of Elections. So it was the entire soup to nuts process from when you put the ballot in the thing to when it's counted and it's done. Tomorrow we'll certify the election and that will be the end of it. But it is incredibly specific. So when the ballots arrive, they are cut open by a machine in sets of 25 by an elections official. So this is a person who works for the Board of Elections. They have an even number of Republicans and Democrats actually counting the ballots and looking at them. So this person cuts them open, they deliver them to a table. It's a closed facility, it's a locked facility. It's not somewhere that the public can get into. You have to call a number to get in and to even participate. I didn't touch a single ballot in the last month, but I had to sign a waiver saying that I would not tamper with the elections, I would not talk about the results, I would not talk about specific details, specific people, and it had to be a witness signature just to be in the room. Everyone there is wearing name tags, everyone there is checking in, and so once this guy, the machine cut the ballots open, they were given to people in stacks of 25. And it was a Democrat sitting 6 feet catty corner to a Republican. These are registered people. These are people who are, this is a Democrat, this is a Republican. And then they would go through the ballots, make sure that the oath was signed, make sure that they were timely, check off all the boxes in order to make sure that the votes were able to be accepted by the machines, if people spilled stuff on them, etc. Now, that's pretty normal, but the interesting thing is if there was an issue, if someone had written a name and then crossed it out, if someone had circled both of the things but filled one in and had the other circled just on the outside, they had to alert the other party. So you were sitting catty corner to someone who is the opposite political party with you, if you're one of the major two parties, and say, hey, this ballot has an issue, can you please check it? So then if it's a Democrat ballot, I would say to the Republican person, hi, can you look at this? They would say, that is an issue, we need to rewrite the ballot because there's coffee stains or because it was messy or because something had happened. So the Democrat would read the votes off to the Republican would write it in a new ballot, then the Republican would give the new ballot to the Democrat, and the Republican would take the old ballot and read the ballot out, and they would cross-check. So you had two checks by an opposite party member on a ballot, so there's no chance that you would cheat. These people are registered party, and so then if there was still an issue, if that couldn't solve it, if there was an issue of legibility or an issue of voter intent, then they would raise their hand and the election director would come over and say, hi, what's the issue? They would talk it out. They'd say, okay, do you agree? Do you agree? Yes, yes. All right, then she would take that ballot and put it in a giant bright orange folder that says, do not process. And she would set it aside in a complete different part of the room. So there's no chance that it could be accidentally run through the machine. We'd averaged around 1,500 ballots a day, more or less. And we had between maybe 3 and 10 ballots that needed to be reviewed. And these machines at the start of the day, every day too, there's so many safeguards. So you come into the room, they turn lights on, they turn the live stream on, no one touches anything till we're streaming, and then they read over the safeguards. So each ballot box has these little clips that have a specific number. There's only one of them printed in the entire bag of, I think it goes up to 10,000 numbers. They randomly pick one out and they lock it each night onto the ballot machine, onto the ballot box, onto the sides, onto the back, onto the scanner. There's, I think, 5 maybe on each ballot machine. And every morning the election director comes with her list and says, what's the code on the little clip on the back of the machine? 217314-B, okay? 217, no one tampered with that side of the machine. What's the next one? 318-B-7-2, okay? No one, and they went through every single clip on the machine, every place you could even get into the machine. There is a clip with a specific single number that is impossible. I have a 3D printer. There's no way in the amount of time necessary that I could even print fake clips, even if I knew all numbers on all ballots and all boxes. So if you have an issue, you have that bright orange folder that has the single ballot that there was an issue with. They save those until the board comes. Now, the board is approved by Governor Hogan. They are the ones who are in charge of making these decisions on the ground. So at 3 p.m. every day, we change the live stream over to say board review in progress. It's a little title at the bottom. We don't stop streaming. And the board shows up, or during the lockdown, they were on video chat. And we'd hold the ballot up like this and show it. Not me personally, but the director would. And so we would sit and film them doing the board review of these ballots. So say there's 5 ballots out of 1,500 that they weren't sure about. It's been checked by the Democrat and Republican across the table from each other. It's been checked by the election director. It's been set aside. And these tamper-proof machines, at least in my observation, unless you're a computer hacker, which none of these people are, and I don't even know if they could get in without the clip things. So the board sits down, and the election director says, "Hi, we have an issue with this ballot. Here is why we brought it to your attention." And the board is some Republicans, some Democrats. And they have a lawyer there who also has read up on election law for the state of Maryland. And the lawyer literally just sits there and answers legal questions if the board has it. So this past week, there was an issue with something. Again, I'm just live streaming, so I'm observing this. I'm not participating. But it was a question of timeliness for the ballot. And so instead of just saying, okay, it's probably fine, for one vote, for one person's ballot, one single human out of 20,000 maybe registered voters in Talbot County, 20 to 30,000, they spent 45 minutes debating whether it's timely, what the legality is, what the state says, what the federal laws are, to the point where they did not have a definitive answer for this one single ballot. They called the second in command of the entire state board of elections for all of Maryland. That includes Baltimore, that includes Western Maryland, that includes Annapolis. Second in command, they called her and said, "We have an issue with this, this, and this. What should we do?" She called right back. She answered their question. They checked it with the lawyer, and then they voted on that ballot. For 45 minutes, one voter for a question that none of them were comfortable answering. And I can only speak for a microcosm of a small county on the eastern shore of Maryland, but in my observation, once that ballot gets to the box, everyone there will try their gosh darn best to make sure that that vote is counted and that your voter intent is both understood and articulated on the ballot.